Do you think we'll ever get back to a point to where physical media is at least a line item? This is from the show Hot Ones, and it had Matt Damon on it. And we've talked about this, the state of Hollywood and the state of movies. That people say, yeah, they don't make movies like they used to. And Matt Damon, eloquently, while shoving hot wings in his mouth, actually does a very good job of describing why they don't make movies like they used to. Have you seen this clip before, Jeff?
I have, because I have asked myself that question literally hundreds of times. Why don't they make movies like they used to, like in the 90s? And now Matt Damon has an answer.
Matt Damon eloquently answers this. Here we go.
So I think a scenario lots of viewers can relate to is sitting on the couch on a Friday night, going through the streaming services, cycling through the movies and thinking to themselves, they're not making movies for me anymore. As somebody who's been intimately involved in movie making for 30 years, what are the macro Hollywood conditions behind that sentiment?
Real quick, why are there two tables between them? Is this
That is so weird.
like, does Matt Damon just not want to be close to the host? Because are they
Maybe
doing
they're
like the
still doing
6 foot
social
thing?
Distance. Yeah, the social
Like-
distance bullshit.
That's interesting. Anyways, that's the first thing I noticed. So stupid.
Well, so what happened was the DVD was a huge part of our business, of our revenue stream. And technology has just made that obsolete. And so the movies that we used to make, you could afford to not make all of your money when it played in the theater because you knew you had the DVD coming behind the release. And 6 months later, you'd get a whole nother chunk. It would be like reopening the movie almost. And when that went away, that changed the type of movies that we could make. I did this movie Behind the Candelabra, and I talked to a studio executive who explained it was a $25 million movie. I would have to put that much into print and advertising, right, to market it, what we call P&A. So I'd have to put that in P&A. So now I'm in $50 million. I have to split everything I get with the exhibitor, right, the people who own the movie theaters. So I would have to make $100 million before I got into profit. And the idea of making $100 million on a story about like this love affair between these two people, yeah, I love everyone in the movie, but that's suddenly a massive gamble in a way that it wasn't in the 1990s when they were making all those kind of movies, the kind of movies that I loved and the kind of movies that were my bread and butter.
I thought that's a really interesting and well thought out and very like black and white way to say like, well, a major part of the money that we used to make isn't there anymore because Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney Plus. And once again, going back to the theme of why physical media is actually important today, the idea of the production cost. You invest $25 million in a movie and you need to make $100 million back. You're not really investing $25 million. You're investing, more or less $100 million into it. That's crazy. I don't know, Jeff. Your thoughts. Fire away.
Well, I have seen this clip. Obviously, Matt Damon is a movie maker, so he understands this stuff, but it really makes sense from that standpoint because I talk about how ever since the iPhones come out, we've reached this point of like, there's a sameness where it's like phones kind of look the same, cars look the same, clothes haven't really evolved in a long time. We're stuck in this window, and the movies line up with that too, where like everything's kind of the same type of movie because they can't take the risks because they're so expensive to make. I mean, how Transformers looked like this movie, which looked like that movie, which looked like that movie. There's this weird homogenization. And it comes from, when these movies are so exorbitantly expensive, you basically economically have to do what you can make money back on. And it sucks artistically because I like to have the artistic freedom to do what I want. If I want to put this in a book or try this or, experiment with this style of drawing, cool. Movies don't have that luxury anymore. Like, I argue that, and there's a book on this, but there's a book called Best Movie Year Ever. I've always said 99 is the best year. That's where you had these experimental films. That's where you had stuff, even though it's not experimental, but like The Talented Mr. Ripley, where a movie could make X at the box office and then on home video make double that. Mm-hmm. That's just an adverse effect of all these things. And I understand we have bigger real world problems and a lack of interesting movies, but this is an effect of trying to convenience sometimes cuts you down in ways you don't expect. And the convenience of having Netflix and all the streaming services really takes away from the ability to have a wider variety of entertainment. That's why everything's the same these days.
Do you feel we'll ever get back to a place where physical media is, I don't know, not. I don't think we'll ever get to a point to where it was like, in the 80s and 90s where there were video stores and you rented the videos and stuff, just from a convenience standpoint. But do you think we'll ever get back to a point to where physical media is at least a line item when it comes to the production cost, or we can they can go back and making those movies that may be seen as artistic and may be able to find that extra revenue from DVD or physical sales?
Sadly, I don't think we'll ever, as a society, get back to that, because everything, if you look at like the grand scale of it, everything's about convenience and people want it now. We've had decades of people being conditioned to the digital landscape where stuff just shows up instantly. It doesn't matter. We may be used to a movie taking 6 months to a year coming out after the theaters to get on home video. Now it's 60 days and it's on streaming, and people are just like, and everything that you want is now brought to you. Now, of course, you could buy physical discs on the internet and that thing, but I think that's where physical media will live as online boutique merchandise from like Vinegar Syndrome or Arrow Video, these places that are going to release big, widely released films like A Weird Science or The Warriors, but they're never going to go back to Target or Walmart. Like Target has wiped out a lot of their stuff. Best Buy just got rid of their physical media because if a store's not carrying it, and people aren't buying it in droves online anymore, I don't think a studio can even. I think they should just put streaming as a line item and try to figure out how to balance a loss or charge more for a license. But I don't think we'll ever go backwards because convenience is the factor in all of this.
Just the idea of having to get the DVD or get the DVD out of the case. Oh, I gotta put it in the machine. I gotta change my input on my TV. Oh, it takes an extra 2 minutes. Oh,